Welcome to the John Summit Comfort and Chaos album review. So, this album just came out today, and I just listened to it in its entirety about a couple hours ago. I took notes, so let's get into it. Let's dive into this album. So, just to preface this with you guys, I'm not a huge John Summit fan. I'm not a John Summit hater, but I feel like I'm pretty neutral. I don't dislike his music either. It's just, I don't really go out of my way to listen to him. So, I feel like I am a pretty good neutral prospect to be judging this album, especially since I've had my phases where I've been really into house, really into progressive house, a lot of techno, and I think this album is a lot of those two genres kind of mixed together with a sprinkle of like D&B, which I really liked. Overall though, I wasn't obsessed with this album. I wouldn't say it was a great album. I wouldn't say it was bad either. Let's get into it. We're going to start off with the very first track, which is Comfort and Chaos. I felt like this was a very nice kind of intro song. I really do love it when albums kind of have an intro track that kind of sets you up to digest the rest of the album. It was a very euphoric, slow intro song, follows the cadence of a wave in slow motion. So I enjoyed it. I wouldn't use it to like listen to in my car to dance to, obviously, but nothing super memorable. But I mean, it's a nice intro song. That's basically kind of it. Next track we have is Tears, and I wrote down a bit slow for me. It takes a while to get going. The bridge at the end really picked up nicely, but overall it felt like too long and there wasn't a flow in the energy of the song. The energy felt a little bit off. So basically, I think this track could have been done a little bit better. It felt like the energy throughout the song just didn't really follow any sort of pattern. And also it was just very slow to begin with. Like it kind of took a while for me to get into it. And then once I was into the song, it wasn't until like the last 30 seconds of it. And the next track we have Stay With Me featuring Of the Trees. So this track pulls you in a little bit more, very atmospheric. It didn't emotionally click with me like tracks usually do. So I think that's like the biggest issue I had with this album, because when I really know I love a track, it's because it evokes like this emotion inside me, whether it's sadness, nostalgia, happiness, like all the above. A lot of these songs I felt like were supposed to evoke a specific like emotion, and I didn't feel the emotions weren't coming to me, if that makes sense. I just didn't connect with them or didn't resonate with them as fully as I felt like they should have been resonating. Next we have Shiver featuring Hayla. I've definitely had heard this one before, I think on Instagram and TikTok. This one's pretty catchy, but for me it's at this point kind of overplayed. I've heard it so much just like on reels and stuff, and I feel like when the same 10 seconds that you hear over and over again on reels, for me at least, I'd get kind of sick of them. This is overall like a good, generally liked track, I think, but I just personally could not get into the groove fully with it, and the production feels unfinished or like it's missing something. So the next track we have is Eat the Bass, and then my notes were would be very fun to dance to for sure. Felt like there could have been more bass slash added production, gets a bit redundant, and I wish it built on itself more. So I think this track would be super fun, to hear at a club. It's like one of those like club banger type songs, but I just don't think it reached its peak club bangerness, if I might say. It just felt like it fell a little bit flat. I felt like the drops could have been changed up a little bit more. They could have had like a more interesting bridge. I definitely see where he was going with the song, but I feel like he could have made it twice as better with like honestly even more bass or just like varied drops throughout the song. Okay, next we have the track Come Down. I think this is my one of the three tracks on this album that I really liked. Very nice interlude type song. It hits me with emotion, and I think it built on itself very nicely. I didn't say interlude in the title or anything, but it was definitely giving a very nice interlude type track, like you're in between these two phases of your life, and this song is kind of what you would listen to, or like that kind of sticks these like two different tracks together in the album, which I do appreciate. Next we have Resonate with Cascade and Julia Church. I really liked Julia's verses in this. I wasn't really expecting this track to end up being a dark melodic techno drop. It kind of felt like two different songs were mashed together instead of one song that really felt like it was intermeshed correctly. It didn't feel like one track that felt very cohesive. I just felt like the verses with Julia is her name. Yeah, Julia Church. And like I get it. I love progressive techno, deep house, and those types of drops, but I just didn't really felt like it matched. Like it just felt like a little bit off. It felt like the drops were kind of just like made by themselves, and then the verses with Julia were produced by themselves, and they just kind of didn't really connect the dots with them. Next we have Give Me Anything with Elderbrook. I like this track because it actually feels cohesive. This is the first one I'm actually like bopping my head and moving my feet to. It sounds like Empire of the Sun-esque. The song actually sounds warm, like the feeling of summer or swimming in the ocean. Yeah, so exactly. I think this song actually kind of evoked a very summer nostalgic vibe to me that I really enjoyed. It just felt like running into the ocean and the water's like warm and foamy because it's like mid or late July. It just felt like a sunset. So next track we have Where You Are with Hayla. And I put, I don't know, I just can't get into the song. I know it's everywhere and people love it. It has personally just been too overplayed for me, and I just don't feel that click with this song. Like, I just can't really get into it. Next, we have Undo featuring Coates. This one made my head bob. It is catchy, it has some psychedelic touches to it, which really did it for me. It also feels very emotional and warm, similar to the Give Me Everything track with Elderbrook. Next, we have Go Back with Subfocus and Julia Church. I think this is definitely one of my favorite tracks on this album. I actually had the emotional click with this song versus the other ones that had Julia or Hayla in them. I just didn't feel anything in my soul when I listened to them, and like that's what music is supposed to do. I just kind of felt flat. I didn't really feel like I connected with the songs. My body didn't really feel like moving to those beats, but I really did like this track Go Back with Subfocus. The Subfocus D&B drop is really fun, and there wasn't a disconnect between the song and the production. So the very last track on this album is Palm of My Hands with Venby. This is a very sweet, fun track. I wasn't really expecting the sound. I did like the beats and the production behind this track, but it doesn't really go with the album. Feels a little out of place. Generally, I felt like the songs in this album kind of went together, but this one totally like it just felt very weird to have as your ending song. It feels like like it should have been a single in my opinion, because it didn't really seem like an outro kind of song, and it also didn't really go with the vibe of the rest. It had really fun production and a fun beat in it, but I just didn't really think it was needed on this album, to be honest. It kind of just felt like he added that song just to add it, to be able to say that it's an album with the 12 songs. Overall, my top 3 tracks in this album were Come Down, Give Me Anything, Undo, and Go Back. And I just realized Go Back is actually John Summit's top song right now, at least on Spotify. And just going back before, I feel like this song has some emotional resonance to it. Like, it's just the vibes in it actually kind of click with you, and it doesn't really feel impersonal like the other ones did, which I feel like is why this is probably his most played song. But I think out of a scale of 10, I honestly would rate this album like a 6.5, which is kind of brutal, but it wasn't put together in the best way. I think it could have gotten a 7 or 8 if the tracks felt a little bit more cohesive together, if I felt more of that emotional click with the tracks. Let me know what you guys think of this John Summit album. Go listen to it. Comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Like, what were your favorite tracks on the album? What were your least favorite tracks? Honestly, I think my least favorite track is probably Tears and Stay With Me. So yeah, comment below. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in my next DJ mix or video. Bye.